Welcome back, America. We're here with my friend Julian Epstein, former House Judiciary Committee, Democrat Chief Counsel, smart as a whip, Democrat consultant. Julian Epstein, we see things happening in the world that are important. In Iran, in Venezuela, other parts of the world, we see people who have labored under tyranny trying to get their freedom back and so forth and so on. And this is the peace through strength. This is the Trump doctrine. But what I find sort of revolting, you have this Marxist Islamist element that's growing a poison in the Democrat Party. We have this woke, right, neo-fascist element that is trying to grow within the Republican Party. And on the right, they claim to be MAGA and Trump, where Trump is defying them every step of the way. And on the left, they're out in the streets marching for the enemy. What do you make of all this?
I think it's chaos, and I worry about the future of civilization. I don't think that's an exaggeration to say that. I think the Groyper movement on the right is a really significant problem, as you identify. I think you've been phenomenal in your work on this, and I think on the left, you are seeing this strange, what we call watermelon coalition, the red-green coalition, the coalition between the Marxists and the radical Islamists, who have a main goal of undermining the left, and the Democratic Party has really become morally confused about what should be an issue of moral clarity, which is to fight on behalf of liberty and to fight against these incredibly oppressive movements that oppress every religious and racial minority, oppress women, oppress LGBT. The fact that the left can't understand or see the moral clarity, can't understand that Israel, for example, in the fight against the Palestinian leadership, we're all for self-determination for the Palestinians, but the Palestinian leadership has consistently rejected peace at least 5 or 6 times that Israel has offered, and is basically the Taliban movement, the Muslim Brotherhood movement in Gaza that aims to not only oppress its own people, but ultimately destabilize and take over the West. The fact that the left is not able to see the basic moral issue here is just confounding to me. And many of us who sort of grew up in the Democratic Party and understood that this was just a basic issue of decency, moral requirement, and national security.
You would never be accepted by the Marxist Islamists. A lot of Democrats won't be accepted by them. In fact, they're talking about taking on Fetterman because they want to purify the Democrat Party into this radical left ideology. You know, in the Republican Party, there's a serious effort to push out these neo-fascists and the others into the corner where they belong. I don't see an effort other than a handful of you who are trying to do the same to the Marxist Islamists who are they've now taken the biggest city in the country. You know, I look at this like a military operation without weapons. They just seized the biggest city in the country. They're trying to seize Houston, parts of Dallas, Tampa Bay. This is all strategic. They say it's strategic. You can see Dearborn, Michigan. Yes, I'm calling out the cities and the towns and what's going on because we must. Parts of New Jersey, parts of other states, they are on the move, and they're operating within the construct of the Democrat Party.
I think that's right. You know, John Kennedy had a great line, Mark. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And I think the Democratic Party has sort of inverted that right now. The animating ideas behind the Democratic Party are, one, the giant welfare state, which is just consuming us and is doing things like providing welfare benefits for people making as much as $500,000 for cooking classes, and then the identity politics, the identity grievance, which is this idea that the West is somehow oppressive, when in fact the West has done more to liberate billions of people and guarantee the economic advancement, security of billions of people, more so than any system ever. But what's coming out of our college campuses, as Mark Penn argues, is this sort of anti-Western pedagogy, this ideology that somehow the West is oppressive, somehow the West is unfair. This dates back into the 1960s, as you know, Mark, with the Pan-Arab movement coalescing with the Soviet Union at that point, to basically promote a coalition between the socialists and communists on the one hand and the Islamist radicals on the other. And it has been brewing for many years, and it's now coming to fruition now, and it is seeping its ways into college campuses and then into the political left and ultimately the Democratic Party. It is civilizational suicide if we don't take it seriously, and I think it's suicide for the Democratic Party if they don't start to grapple with the excesses of the welfare state and the excesses of this identity politics, anti-Western ideology, which is just wrong as an empirical matter, toxic to most of the voters, and something that will lead this country